everybody. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you for joining us today on this glorious Monday. What date is it? April 12th. We are already a third of the way through 2021, and it still feels like 2020, if you ask me. But the good thing is we have Star Wars to talk about, some pretty cool stories that we're going to tackle, give our takes on. We're not here to report the news. We're here to give our takes on the news. And with me, as always, is Lacey. Lacey, what is going on? How are you?
Oh, nothing. Just chilling.
Just chilling. Yeah, and as you may notice, James is not here. So we had to call on the subs.
We did.
Call on the subs. And so our guest is one of TRB's oldest friends. You know him and you love him. Rex Manning just celebrated his own day. But his real name is Steve Ellis from Black Series Rebels. What's up, Steve?
Hoey, hoey.
I haven't heard that hit single in a long time.
How are you
guys?
It's on a Spotify list, I'm sure. We just haven't made it public yet. But
yeah.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me. It's been a long time. I love you guys.
Yes. Love you too, buddy.
I feel like I've been in a closet for a year. Because quarantine, like it's just I'm in a box.
Lacey, it's all of us have been there. We're all in our little.
It's it doesn't stop. So Steve, have you gotten your Fauci ouchie yet, or where are you
My
at?
Fauci ouchie? I am. Listen, I will just say it's the one time in my life I was not offended at being morbidly obese.
Okay.
I am 50% there. Next Thursday, I will be 100% there.
Yeah, you and me both.
And what'd you get? Which one'd you get, buddy?
I got the Cadillac. I got the Rolls Royce. I got the Pfizer.
Ooh. See, I got the top. I thought I had the top shelf with the Moderna.
I thought Moderna was the rich people one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
See, I don't listen. I like to keep it classy. You know,
right.
There's nothing wrong with a Cadillac or Rolls Royce. I think there's a huge margin between the two, but you know, I'll take either. I'm not going to complain.
I actually saw a very interesting article the other day that was like, should I feel guilty that I'm fat and got the vaccine before my friends and family? And I was like, what? No, just get the vaccine.
I 100% felt guilty.
Oh,
100%.
really?
Oh, yeah, because I was one of these people that was like, did you see this mother effer on Instagram? How did they get one? Cutting the line. What is that all about? Cutting the line. Don't cut the line, people. Stop cutting the line. And then it's like in LA, we started getting all these reports because Dodger Stadium was where we went to get our testing. Because like all of us had to go work because like working in the entertainment industry and being on film sets and stuff, you got to get tested a lot. And so Dodger Stadium was like, you'd go there and it looked like a end of the world thing and tents and just all this stuff. But it was like organized like crazy. Well, now that's where they do all the vaxes, and it's just insanity. I've lost my train of thought because I haven't done this in a long time.
Is it true that you feel like your brain is being touched?
For the testing, see, I was super fortunate. I never had to do the nasal. I always had to do the swab. And I forget what it's called, but as long as a PCR test, as long as it was considered a PCR test, because it's in the way that they do it, it was fine. So I was happily unemployed while everyone else was getting things shoved up their noses.
My friend Ruben got it like every other week.
But we were. But everyone like you had some people like it's nothing. You had some people like it's the worst, scariest thing in the world. So of course you're like, am I going to get that? So when I went to go get tested for the first time, that's what I was expecting, and I was scared, and I was like, oh my god, what am I? Oh geez, I don't know. And then I went and they were like, okay, swab your mouth for like 2 minutes or whatever, all around this and that, and I was like, wait a second. And then of course what happens? You leave there going, well, why didn't I get the one up the nose? How did I get the one up the nose? Is that one just as good? Maybe it's not just as good. Anyways, back to your original thing about feeling guilty and all that stuff, there were reports all over basically going, guys, we've got all of these vaxes. Nobody's making appointments. They're having
and
to
they
throw
only
a lot
last
of them
so
out.
long, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Moderna and Pfizer has to be refrigerated, and so they're having to throw them out. All this stuff. Anyways, I was still reluctant. My wife one day was like, Steve, I got this stuff. You need to fill this thing out. Please go. Please go. Please go. And I went, no, like, and she went, please go.
Yeah,
so I went. I was like, okay, and I filled it all out, did the whole thing, and then it was like, holy crap, I can go in an hour.
Oh,
and that just shows you. So I went. So I did it. That's the deal. So everybody, come relaxed. Get on with it. My tail is amazing. Yeah. My tail. What about your tail, John?
Well, I don't have the tail. I have the microchip locator. So that's what I have.
I got to tell you, the phone service from this 5G is amazing.
Excellent. Yeah. I like knowing that my mom knows where I am at all times now. So I can't skirt family get-togethers. But hey, I'm vaxxed.
Oh,
so.
See, my mom knows where I'm at all time. That never ended.
Yeah, it's always just constant. Yeah.
So let's get into some stuff here. We have the resistance report, so let's fire up some stuff right now.
It's the resistance.
Okay, so the first thing I want to get into, guys, is this exclusive battle. It's the battle of the exclusive, as I call it, because everybody has an exclusive now. The word means nothing.
Let's get the exclusives.
The exclusives. So the latest exclusive is, and I'm not sure who the exclusive was with, but it is that there's casting news for Ahsoka for a character named Boka, which is a 20 to 35-year-old male, Middle Eastern, African, Pacific Islander, Black, mixed ethnicity, or Caribbean, strong supporting role. People are like, oh, that's got to be Ezra. And then there's another one, Morai, which is an interesting name because that's the name of Ahsoka's owl. 40 to 60-year-old male of any ethnicity, volatile, complex, unreliable, shady, strong supporting role. So a lot of people are thinking this is for Ezra and Thrawn for the Ahsoka show. But then there were other exclusives that came out months ago that said these roles have already been cast. Mina Massoud is playing Ezra, and Lars Mikkelsen is playing Thrawn because he voiced him. So I'm having an exclusive war in my mind. So I'm just gonna kind of toss it to you guys to give your takes on exclusive mania. So Steve, what's your take on the madness going on in exclusiville?
In the exclusiville? The exclusiville? Well, I gave you a exclusive earlier this week, but I guess you didn't want to report that.
Yeah. Okay.
Y'all are like what?
Hold on a minute now. See this. You throw this at me. That's my son. He has an exclusive upstairs. He's about to go report it.
He's like, oh my god, Steve from Black Series Rebels.
Yeah. He knows who's playing a young Luke Skywalker in Obi-Wan Kenobi, apparently. It is not the kids from Big Daddy. Apparently they grew up. But Steve, you threw something at me, and I'm not sure what you want to say about that, but you were like, no, this is just my opinions on it. Yeah.
I'm just an ass. Every now and again. Listen, I live in Burbank, which, we got Warner Brothers, we got Disney, we got all the studios, all this stuff. I do work in television, whatever land. But all my neighbors, everybody, they all work in the industry as well. We got camera people, we got all those names that filter down through like the 35 minutes of credits. Those are all people that for the most part live in my neighborhood. And we follow each other on Instagram, and I see Graham stories, because it's not permanent, and I can put two and two together. I know what you're doing when you're like setting up cameras and you got in camera rooms and all of a sudden you got emojis of like Yoda with lightsabers. I know what you're telling me. I know what that means is filming in Los Angeles right now.
Right.
Which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit here. But in terms of like exclusive wars and all of that, it's the internet, it's Twitter. People just want clicks. People just want to be first. I haven't. This is the first I've heard of any of the stuff you just talked about or mentioned.
That's what I figured. You've been kind of shut down from Star Wars Twitter.
Intentionally, I've steered away from Star Wars for personal reasons. Not because I don't like it. But just for my own health, my own sanity, because I'm a sensitive person and the internet's mean.
And you have a beautiful baby.
I do have a beautiful baby. Thank you. But in terms of like the exclusives and stuff, I mean, listen, this has been going on since before. This has been going on since before the prequels. Like people are talking this. It's just now everybody's able to just kind of type it and put it out, and then people are to pick up on it and ping pong and ping pang, and next thing you know, it's on Star Wars Newsnet and wherever else, and everyone's making a YouTube show about it, trying to get the clicks for it. And at the end of the day, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But I'm telling you right now, Kumail's my guy for Thrawn. Let me tell you.
Kumail for Thrawn. Okay. All right.
All
right.
He's gotten all ripped and buff now. He's making career choices. That's
right.
That's the BSR exclusive right here. At the old days when we used to have Alex Damon on from what's that thing he does where he explains everything. He's so Mr. Know-it-all pantsy pants.
Right.
Take it to the bank. And when I say that, it's absolutely false, but it's true.
Okay. I was gonna say, so Thrawn's showing up in Obi-Wan. That's your exclusive.
That's my exclusive. But that's the point. It's like people can just throw that stuff out there, right? And then all of a sudden it's like a feeding frenzy. And I was an asshole earlier this week and messaged John and said, hey, would your brain explode if Kumail? I said, how much would your brain explode if Kumail was announced as Thrawn? And of course I worded it because, like, listen, it's no secret. I've done a little slippy slip whenever I've heard something now and again to John and stuff like that. And you know, I don't have a lot of those friends anymore, or a lot of those people anymore. But I just did it like an ass, and I shouldn't have done it like that. And I should have just said, "Hey, I thought about this. What do you think?" And instead, I proposed it to get his brain going and mess with him.
Yeah, and it worked only because I know you don't care about like Thrawn, and like that's not your like wheelhouse.
Yeah,
because it's animated and it's books. Like that's not your thing.
Right. Like 72 books.
So to hear you tell me, oh no, I was just kidding. I was just like thinking like who would make a good Thrawn. I'm like, Steve's not thinking about Thrawn. I'm like, there's no way he's thinking about Thrawn. So it did get me like second guessing. So, but this will appear on some website. Will pick this up that you're reporting this because of your just stellar track record.
And then it'll just be me posting gifs of the bees, not the bees.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we will avoid certain hashtags that have lived on for years on this show. But Lacey, what is your take? I know you're not a big fan of leaks in terms of like story and characters and stuff like that. So, but when you clearly see two things completely contradicting themselves and they're both called exclusives, does it just make you say like, all right, so that cancels all of it out? Where were you at?
I don't know what's worse. The stories that say they're exclusives that you know aren't exclusives, or people just tweeting things that they're like Obi-Wan gif, eyeball. Like
the cryptic tweeting. Yeah.
I don't know what's worse. But this being said, like I think Steve was onto something where he said that people are looking for clicks. People want that attention. People are going to drive that frenzy to get those views. And there's no repercussions if people are wrong. Like there's nothing, no one's going to come back to them and be like, you were wrong. Because nobody cares. They move on.
But it's one thing for us to like kind of have the conversation of what if, or I think it's this, and have that conversation, right?
Sure.
Because when you use words like exclusive,
that means it's true.
Well, not only that, usually I reserve exclusive for the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline. Like when you hear exclusive, it means a publicist and the media, machine behind said IP has now exclusively put it out there and it's confirmed. And that's what an exclusive means. Exclusive is not, I think this and this, and then all of a sudden it's that. That's not how it works.
I told John today that I think that some people have mistakenly lost the definition of exclusive. Like they're not sure.
It's just used so much now to the point where it's insane. And even when we've had reports in the past where it was just stuff that we learned and we put it on Star Wars News, I don't think we ever used the word exclusive because
you always said rumor. I think
report or something. We would write like report, and because we just feel uncomfortable using the word for whatever reason, and maybe the reason you're saying there, Steve, I don't know, but so this stuff it's wild to me, and there are certain things where it's like this is I got the premise. I'm reporting on the premise for the Ahsoka series, and it looks like Ahsoka's going to be looking for Thrawn, and it's like, oh, is that because she asked the woman where Thrawn was in Mandalorian, or did you have an insider telling you this? It's sometimes it makes me like, and then people go wild. They're like, oh my god, he nailed it. They nailed it. They got it right. And it's like they're just saying what everyone's under. Like my grandmother would probably be like, oh, Thrawn, yeah, they talked about Thrawn, yeah, got it. So it's just like I don't like to get into it, but sometimes I just want to like
it's bananas.
Shake people and be like
shake the shit out of them.
Just stop. But anyway, All right, so we'll let that ride for now. We'll see what happens with those castings. I'm still hoping Taylor Gray gets to play Ezra. So
Me too.
We'll see what happens there. But let's move on to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series set video, which gave a very up close look at the physical sets and the structures. Sort of this whole street looked very Mos Eisley. Clearly looks kind of Tatooine to me. Not sure exactly where. Some people with more eagle eyes may have pointed out things that look very specific in terms of objects and stuff. But it was clearly an up close video right there on set, which I believe is in downtown LA, maybe even the same lot where they filmed the Mandalorian exterior stuff. But Lacey, I'm going to toss it to you on this one to kick things off here. You saw the video. You had told me recently that it's been taken down or made private. So from what you remember about it, what can you give your take on?
Nothing like getting Star Wars news from TikTok. That's where we are in 2021, watching TikTok videos. What I got from this video was that it was probably some type of construction worker, someone working on the set, and or vendor dropping stuff off and leaving. And on the way leaving, they're in the passenger seat and they're shooting video with their phone out the window. But yet they weren't completely out the window, which makes me think that they were hiding shooting it. Like they weren't out the window shooting stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that bothers me because it's like, this is why they don't want to shoot in the US, because people can't have nice things, because people can't keep things private. Because I feel like we got leaks in the UK, but they were usually when they were outside things, like in certain locations or certain, I don't know. I'm just all against the leak stuff. Like, just let stuff happen when it happens. Let things get presented by the creators when they want to give you that information. I don't see the benefit of getting stuff like this besides, oh, that looks like Tatooine. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I get that. You're on one end, and some people on the other end where they're like, "Give it all to me, give it all to me." And you actually used to be like, "Give me all the spoilers," because you don't like the anxiety of finding out on the spot.
Yes.
But you've changed.
My opinion has changed because of the Mandalorian season 2. I think as fans, we were robbed of a lot of character appearances and a lot of cool storylines that were leaked earlier. And I think Rise of Skywalker is another prime example of like that script leaked the whole summer before the movie came
that was
out.
tough
and
to dodge. Yeah.
And it just kind of ruined the experience because then you don't get the surprise. And yeah, I hate being surprised, but at the same time, you want to have that reveal. You want to have the Baby Yoda moment. Like, I will always look to that as like a prime example of like, that is fun. Luke Skywalker showing up. That was a blast that everyone experienced it at the same time. So I'm just kind of against that idea of like, especially after Jon Favreau gave that interview where he was like, I was terrified that Luke Skywalker was going to get out. Like, no one should be creating things and feeling like that. Like, this should be an awesome experience for everybody involved, including fans. And I don't know why people want to rob others of those experiences. This is a little different. Obviously, it's like buildings. It's like, Lacey, calm down. It's just
right. I was going to say
this is like step one of those things. Yeah. So it's not too bad. It's cool. I'm glad it's being worked on.
Steve, did you get a chance to see this video as it floated around before it got taken down?
So you sent like the show notes for the show, and because again, I have taken a huge the last year, all of us at BSR has taken a huge sort of step back from consuming the leaks, all of that, the news, what's going on, anything like that. We still talk about Star Wars on the show when it's like a major thing has been put out there, but in terms of, you know, the fan sites and the rumors and stuff, I'm pretty unaware. So when I got the show notes this morning, the first thing I clicked on was that on your guys' site, and the video was blocked. All there was like a screen grab of a photo, and to me, I kind of already assumed they were filming in Los Angeles, and that they were just repurposing the sets down in Marina Del Rey that they used for the Mando, and that it just looked more like Mos Eisley to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Brown and sandy.
So it's clearly they're going to be on Tatooine in Obi-Wan, and it looks like they're using the Manhattan Beach Studio too for the volume stuff. So it looks like they're doing some outside set building type of things, as well as blending in using that volume sort of thing. But how are you? Let me check in with you on this. Like, are you pumped about the Kenobi series? Like, where are you at with that? Are you excited to get that? Yeah.
Well, and that was a big factor with taking the step back that we consciously did at BSR. As fans, we are enjoying, like, it's no secret. I mean, Cisco liked liked The Rise of Skywalker, and I believe you guys did as well, and that's awesome. Alex and I, on the other hand, less fans of that show. And also, I think in terms of Star Wars podcasting, fandom, Twitter drama, whatever, I think we just have a little bit of PTSD from it, and a little bit of to the
That's
point
fair.
and a little bit to the point whenever we were doing our show, especially in the last like year and a half of it, when it was just Star Wars only, I feel like like a lot of this stuff that's like the movie part of it all, where it's like these set pieces or these rumors or this or that or blah, blah, we ended up finding ourselves going on and on and on about fan discourse, and to the point where just like we were not enjoying Star Wars anymore. It turned into something else that was not why we started our show. And so we needed to take a step back, and plus we're into other things and we wanted to talk about other stuff. And so this break is really like, I'm having fun with Star Wars again. I had fun with Mando. I had fun with season 1 and season 2 of that. I'm having fun going back and like rewatching the movies, and like right now, like I'm obsessed with watching Rogue One. It's just my thing. So like yes, to answer your question, I am so pumped for Kenobi. I am pumped we got Ewan back. I am pumped that they're bringing back Joel Edgerton. I'm pumped they're bringing back Bonnie. I'm pumped. Like when I saw that casting announcement, I was like, this is great. This is what I'm talking about. And like you're gonna do something, do it right. And I have nothing but faith in Deborah Chow and the whole gang over there. And like I feel like it, listen, Star Wars on the big screen is where Star Wars will always be cream of the crop. That's where that'll be. However, what they've been doing on Disney Plus, my expectations, it's past them beyond belief. Like I didn't think
they've been exceeded.
Possible. Yeah, I didn't think it was possible. And while I don't think every episode is perfect, and while I have little issues with it, just like I do with the movies, I think finally past the make Solo 2 happen, past the Solo behind the scenes
drama.
John all of a sudden ears perked up. What did he say? Past all of that behind the scenes, you want to talk about pins, but behind all the like that drama with Lord and Miller and all of that, and then into the stuff with Rise of Skywalker or whatever there, and all of the different behind the scenes stuff, I feel like they've got their footing again. I feel like we're a year however long past Rise of Skywalker and all of that, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know, I'm off the internet for the most part. I don't engage with Star Wars much on the internet, so like I don't know what's going on in the fandom. I assume the crazies over here and the crazies over there and the chill moderate people over here all for the most part are having a good time with what they've watched on Disney Plus. Is that safe to assume? Am I wrong?
I would assume that's safe. There's always issues, like I was saying to you before we recorded. There were people who had issues about the Baby Yoda with the eggs, and that. But those things are so they're small. They're in a vacuum of time, and that stuff goes away after the buzz, and after we need to attack Jon Favreau for daring to do this, and then that episode still exists. And a year from now, when people watch that episode, there's not going to be that vitriol. It's always these tight little windows of time where these things happen, and if you can just hang on to your mast and weather that storm, like it's good, like it's going to be good,
But for the most part, everybody, for the most part, am I wrong in saying
it
that?
Seems
like,
Mando has been,
everyone's sort of on board.
So everybody likes Mando.
So I think in the case of Obi, I think we're good. And then like and to further into the whole spoiler or ruining it or getting the pictures or the this, the that, that's been going on since they were calling Jedi Blue Harvest, and that's always going to be around. And it's one of those things where it's like Cisco and Alex, they've never really paid attention to it. And I was always the one on our show wanting to talk about it, and they were always the ones that were like, I don't care, I don't find it interesting. Like, it wasn't that like they were upset about it. To them, they just don't think it's interesting. And to me, being like a behind the scenes guy and the this and the that, like, I was the guy downloading the Scream 2 script when it leaked, when it was still Mickey and the
I remember
when it wasn't Mickey and
I
it was
love behind the scenes. I just don't like when things compensate the story in the way that it takes away how you're supposed to experience it.
For sure. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, I grew up in a household where my mom read the last page of a book, right? And some people are like, that is nuts. And I guess
I've heard that people do that, yeah.
Right. But I have that same thing with movies and stuff, where to me, it's like, I was raised on Dark Horizons and Ain't It Cool News and all of these like original movie websites with like people talking and leaks, and I heard this and I heard that like I was brought up in that culture as a young teenager, first on the internet. So to me, like, I've always loved that stuff, but
me too.
Some people don't, it's just like,
I hit, you and I are the same age, and I hit all the forums for the Scream 2 images and all that stuff. Yeah. And they would download like this
yeah,
processing, Mom, don't pick up the phone, I'm on AOL. Like, but it's come a long way, and I'm sort of in the middle. Like, I feel like sometimes Lucasfilm's so secretive that I don't mind if people can get a legit scoop on a future show and let me know that there's a future show coming about blank. Or, I don't mind seeing a set piece of Tatooine, because I'm like, it's Obi-Wan, I know he's going to be on Tatooine. If I get, I'm going to stare at it, I'm going to watch it 40 times. It's not going to spoil the story for me. When it gets to like people, which I haven't seen in a very long time, and that there could be reasons for that. I won't get into that any further, but in terms of like real narrative stuff coming out about these shows, like Mando was pretty lock and key for the most part, aside from like, hey, Ahsoka's going to be in it, and that came from like a major trade, but it wasn't like, Mandalorian's going to take his helmet off in episode 5 with Bill Burr, and like it wasn't like those detailed things. So it's been okay.
Paul said, who plays Carson Teva, he said he would only get like the page of his lines. Like he wouldn't get the full story. And
on
then
like
he
said paper, yeah.
Right. And he had said to us that he would get the one page with his lines and then no kind of background. And he'd kind of have to like ask questions as he went, because there was no understanding of what the story that episode was.
Or when it took place in the season. Yeah.
That is where we've been for the last, I would say, at least 10 years, maybe 15 years.
It's crazy.
Big budget, especially since Marvel. That is where we're at. Like, even big top stars don't get the full scripts anymore.
Then you have John Boyega leaving his script in a hotel,
which is bananas to me.
Yeah,
absolute banana. Which is crazy, because like I used to be, when I was like 18, I used to come down from the Bay Area to Los Angeles, being an actor, and I would be like, I was on like there was a show on the WB called Popular, and I
oh my god, I loved that show.
I spent a whole summer essentially being like a featured extra on that show.
Oh my
and
god, that
like
show was
I
so
can
good.
remember being in the bathrooms, and like actors would just leave their crumpled, they're called sides, they're little tiny pages with the thing, they leave them all crumpled up and in the bathroom, and I would be like, give me those, you know what I mean? And it's just like, nowadays it's like, your career's ruined if you do that.
Mhm.
You know? And like when I worked on Jungle Book for Favreau, like there'd be nights where it was like, yeah babe, I'll be home by, it takes me an hour commute, I'll be home by 8:00 on a Friday night, and it's 7:00 as I'm about to leave, it was new script came in. And so I had to go and I had to print colored with like their names on it on red paper, so it can't be copied. And for the entire like cast, crew, producers, everyone, and then we had to go deliver them all around town.
That was my job at WWE, was delivering scripts like the night of a show. Sorry guys, WWE is fake. I would print out scripts I think there was one show, it was literally 10 minutes before they were about to air. And I'm in the trailer printing them out, and then I'm running to each thing, like the gorilla pit, which is behind where the ramp is. I had to run to Vince's office, throw one to him, like running around the stadium to get it to them in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm surprised wrestling scripts don't leak more, now that I think about it, but whatever.
I didn't even know there were scripts for that. That's crazy.
It was stressful.
WWE apparently to the word is scripted now. Those guys don't get to do their cocaine laced promos. They have to like.
Some of them do. Some of them do. It will say in the script, like it will have some points for them, and then it will be like, okay.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Like Stone Cold and The Rock get to do their things, but like some of the mid guys are like, no, you say exactly what Vince McMahon wants you to say, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right. So speaking of Obi-Wan, there is a new sort of hint via the new book by Kristen Baver, Skywalker Family at War, and in it says that Qui-Gon was able to finally learn how to become a Force spirit and connect with Obi-Wan, kind of like how Yoda said this would happen at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I have training for you. An old friend has connected with us from the beyond, and Obi-Wan said Qui-Gon. So it says in this book, 10 years since the events of Revenge of the Sith, he was able to finally achieve this. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series takes place 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So this is putting Qui-Gon right here, and it's saying this is the first time they connected. So to me, it's pretty clear that they are painting this picture that in this series, we're going to see the first time Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan meet via Qui-Gon since Qui-Gon's death. And this is, again, one of those things where every fan is assuming that Liam Neeson's going to be in this show. It hasn't been confirmed or anything like that. So you can't even say worst kept secret because nothing
exclusive.
Nothing substantial has come out about it, but it would almost be stupid for him not to appear in it, especially if you look at the movies he's been making lately. I mean, So Steve, I know you're saying you're pumped about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you think it's in your words, a take it to the bank that Liam Neeson will be back and doing his Force Ghost thing as Qui-Gon in this?
I don't know if it's a take it to the bank. First of all, I have to tell you, those movies he's doing, he's getting paid a nice, handsome dollar for. Let me tell you.
I understand.
He's on a train again.
But guys, the international distribution and sales worldwide on those movies, like that's why he's able to do those, and that's why he does them. Listen, I don't know if it's a take it to the bank. I'm certainly not against it. Listen. It's no secret. The prequels are not I don't hate the prequels. I don't bash the prequels. When we first started doing BSR and we started interviewing a lot of fans that were younger than us and stuff, my mind was blown away when we would do our questionnaire. And we was, one of the questions was always, what's your favorite? What's your least favorite? And like people out of the gate were like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. And there was several interviews there where I'm sure if I went back and rewatched, I'd have this face of like, really? Like, because I'm John, you and I are of a different generation, right? Where like we were pumped for him, and then we kind of were like, oh, well, we liked him. Like there's
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah.
I went to the movie theater with my dad at Phantom Menace, walked out and was like, where's Luke Skywalker? Like I was literally like confused.
But my point is there's no denying that Ewan McGregor is phenomenal in those movies.
Yes.
There's no denying that like Liam Neeson is fantastic. There's no denying Natalie Portman is fantastic. So like, yeah, it makes sense. Like if you can, if he's available, if he's in LA, whatever, like sure, I'm all for it. And if you can't fit him in, that's fine too. I don't know. Is it possible? Yes. Odds? I don't know. 50-50?
Are you because we talked about the Ghostbusters thing before we got on air. The new the Ghostbusters with the Stay Puft, and you got the Stay Puft thing behind you. You're a Ghostbusters fan. You seem to be a nostalgia guy.
You think? I'm a 39-year-old man with all this stuff behind me.
With an Ecto 1. I think, don't you have like an Ecto 1?
Who let me have a daughter? That's insane. But what's your question?
I guess my question is, even though you're not the biggest prequel fan, wouldn't it still tickle some sort of sense of nostalgia with you to see Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon 22 years later?
It would be awesome.
Yeah,
it would be. Right? It would be fantastic. It would be awesome. Listen, I think when we were having this discussion about the latest little Paul Rudd Stay Puft mini guys video. It's one of those things where it's all in execution. It's all in how they do it. It's always about that. It's you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't execute it properly,
like Yoda in The Last Jedi, that could have been a disaster.
That could have been an absolute disaster, but it has to do with it all has to do with your execution, and also, quite frankly, being able to know when enough is enough. And know when to trim it and know when to cut it and know.
I agree with that.
There's so many variables, and I guess my point is like if you're gonna do it, take the time, to really do it and do it right. Otherwise, don't just do it because, like we were talking about with the Stay Puft thing, everyone's saying, oh, I'm sure there's an executive that went, Baby Yoda's really hot right now, so give us our Baby Yoda moment in Ghostbusters, right? And it's like,
they're already making toys. Yeah, they already have the full
I know,
set.
I saw those, and I went, that's funny. That makes sense to me, but at the same time, it's like that commercial was executed properly. It wasn't just a blatant like, oh, we know you guys like this, so here's this small cute thing and throw it away. It's like they took the time to develop it, and so like with Qui Gon. Like he's not Baby Yoda, but like if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah,
I'll say this real quick about the Ghostbusters thing. Then I want to bring Lacey in.
Are you going to give me credit for what I noticed?
So I'm gonna, before I go to you, I'm gonna bring that up. But the first thing I want to bring up to Steve in terms of the Ghostbusters thing is like Jason Reitman is, I don't know if it's like an homage to his dad or what, or if it kind of is just inherited in how he shoots his stuff. The music is the same as Ghostbusters 1, the eerie library music, and then that side pan shot slow zoom thing is so Ghostbusters. Like I was like, oh my god, even I'm not a director, felt the Ghostbusters like shooting style in this little promo thing. So I am a little excited about that. And you're right, like do this nostalgia, but do it right. But also I'll add one thing to that. Don't paint the old stuff with the rose-colored glasses like it's up here and untouchable, because Ghostbusters has some really dumb stuff in it. And like I brought up, like people were complaining about the Stay Puft thing. I'm like, the Ghostbusters animated the Statue of Liberty with mood slime, Jackie Wilson music, and a Nintendo joystick, and walked it into Manhattan. And that's all you need to know about a canon Ghostbusters movie. So people, like you say, need to just sit back, relax, maybe take a supplement and enjoy themselves. So Lacey, you did point something out about the Ghostbusters thing. And I was like, wow, that was a good catch, because it's a nod to something else. It has not been confirmed by Jason Reitman, but what was it?
I'm waiting for him to confirm it. I think it is, but who knows? I was looking at the little mini puffs. Puffed. I get they say puff, but it has a T at the end. Anyway.
Puffs.
But they're all doing little things, and I noticed the one in the flames does the Terminator thumbs up as it melts into the grill. And I swear go watch it. I watched it like 50 times before I tweeted it.
I'm convinced too.
And John didn't think I noticed. He was like, where'd you see this? Where'd you get this from? I was like, myself.
Hot fact. Hot fact. Alex Backus cries every time at that scene.
No.
It's emotional. It isn't very emotional. I'm not gonna lie. There are certain spots in movies that I cry all the time. That's not necessarily one of them, but that one, it does get you. It does get you. But all right. So Lacey, in terms of that, like this is a good segue because it is very fan servicey. Because not only are you fan serving Ghostbusters, you're fan servicing Terminator in Ghostbusters.
I think that we're gonna get a lot of that. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of, because you have to look at Baby Yoda, and then the other thing that I see a lot from studios is, how can we do 80s like Stranger Things? And they're throwing the 80s into everything, like little 80s call outs. And I know Terminator's obviously 90s, but just like these
T2
retro,
90s, right.
Like, how can we make this feel nostalgic outside of just like cuteness?
So I agree with you, but we've been talking about it for a while on the podcast that we fully expect Liam Neeson is going to be back.
Yes.
He's been coy about it. He just recently in an interview held up. He still has his lightsaber, like Billy the Big Mouth Bass, on his wall.
Isn't that odd though? Sam Jackson like brings his everywhere.
Sam Jackson is still politicking to come back somehow as Mace
He's like,
Windu.
I didn't die.
Yeah. He's like, you didn't see me die, MFers. You didn't see it. But so Lacey, this book excerpt here has the timelines lined up. I don't think any more proof is needed, but is this?
I think it sets it up perfectly. Like you literally put 10 years, and then they're like, it takes 10 years after Revenge. You're like, okay, 10 and 10, got it.
Does this fortify anything more for you, or were you always feeling like he's going to be there? Where are you at with this?
I've always thought he was gonna show up from the moment they announced this show. I don't think you could have the show without him, because I think they set up what's going to happen in the show at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where Yoda's telling Obi-Wan, like, oh, he's figured out how to come back and talk to us and all this stuff. So it just makes sense that you would have this happen in this series, because then in A New Hope, he explains, he basically sacrifices himself to then talk to Luke and be a part of the Force and teach Vader a lesson. That couldn't happen without the explanation of this stuff. Now, you could have had it without it if there were no prequels, but because the prequels set it up, you have to have that explanation. And I think fans would love it. It would be like the Luke Skywalker moment in The Mandalorian if he walked up.
I agree.
Forgive me, because I
know
you mentioned it earlier. I don't watch the animated shows really. I've tried many times, but
I watched them a long time ago.
But I think I read in the article for this that you guys had up, did they touch upon it a little bit in Clone Wars though, right?
Yeah. So
like basically it's that he could learn, he didn't quite master it yet in terms of the physical presence, but in terms of the telepathic or whatever the voices, right?
He was able to speak and communicate with Yoda via his voice. Anakin hears or sees him on at Mortis, which is still one of those weird dimensional things. But yeah, he's starting to figure it out, but he hasn't fully done it yet. And it looks like they're using this moment as when he finally is able to.
I know that they've mentioned that this is probably just a one-off thing, right? They keep calling it a limited series or whatever. I don't know. It's something I'd never even thought of before. I didn't know I needed explained. But I think that's a really cool thing to be like. I don't know if it would be storyline A or not of this, but I think that in terms of canonically kind of connective tissue stuff, kind of being the explanation behind him realizing how to do that and then going into the future films. I think that's kind of cool. I'm into it. And listen, I'm just excited. I'm excited to see Ewan and the gang and all that stuff.
When they finally announced it, because John did the report about it like months earlier, and then they finally announced it at D23, and I straight up was crying. I was because he was so happy. Ewan was so happy to be back.
They could have put way more theater behind that announcement, though. In my opinion,
I think you have to understand, and I know that, like, John, you've messaged me in the past going, you heard anything? You heard anything around town? Because like we used to talk about on the show all the time. Like it's not rare to walk into Starbucks or somewhere here and overhear people and being able to put two and two together when you're a fan, right? And that's the other thing about
you got to do the bow finger with the menu and the microphone.
That's exactly it, right? And like Mindhead, you Mindhead? Who's your guy? You read my scripts? No. Sorry. I can do a pod on that anyways. The point I'm trying to make is, and this even goes back to the earlier thing about like set leaks and things like that, is like as more and more of us that are becoming like 38 to 40-year-olds that grew up on the internet being fans of this stuff and then actually getting to work within it, the more that people are willing to slip things to people and stuff like that. And the other thing is like, I mean, I feel like even when we were doing our show as Star Wars Only, I was hearing things about like, this was a long road. There was so many times that this was supposed to be
he was at Solo.
And that's the whole thing, is that was supposed to be announced. And it's the whole thing of just deals and schedules and availabilities and just there's so many things that go into making these things happen that I don't think most people in fandom take into account. And I understand why, because it's pretty boring stuff. But like to think that he has been like, okay, we're about to, okay, no. Oh, I just grew okay, I guess I'll go do a motorcycle show again for Apple. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where the thing is, and this is the thing that makes me excited, is that listen, I don't know his financial situation, but he doesn't seem like the type of guy that would just do this for a paycheck. I could be wrong.
He's doing it because he's been campaigning.
I could be wrong, but like the fact that Ewan has stayed committed this whole time, that shows he believes in what he's doing. So I'm all for it. Now, granted, some people didn't like it. I thought he did a good job in the Birds of Prey movie. I didn't mind it. So like he also did that. A lot of people didn't like that, but
I think he's great in everything he does. He can do whatever he wants.
And that's my point, is like no matter what he's in, he gives 110%. And I'm excited to see what he does with it. I think it'll be a really great opportunity for him to, because that's the other thing, is so many of them, unless they go to Celebration and whatnot, they never got their due for what they did in the prequels, in my opinion. And so for him and Hayden to be able to come back and possibly have, you know, Liam come back too, I think that's pretty amazing that like all these years later, like the love is there. And I think events like Celebration with them showing up showed them that like, oh wow, like there really is, you know, thing. And that's the other thing is like I watched the motorcycle show, and it's one of those things where it's like people recognize him, kids recognize him as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. That's true. Yeah,
I think there's something to be said for that, and so we should be excited.
And yeah, kids like you said it before, Steve. Kids who were 5 when the Phantom Menace came out are the 25-year-old kids podcasting now who are. Yeah. That's why the prequels are like winning polls over like favorite trilogies, because old people aren't voting in Twitter polls. But
exactly,
it is this revolution, and it's also the fact that he, in many interviews, has said he really just like chomping at the bit about like this volume and like being able to like act in front of actual realized environments, and he's very intrigued about that element of it, and he seems to be really enamored with Deborah Chow and his discussions with her. And you know, they said there's been writing changes and a bunch of new writers brought in, that sort of thing, but he seemed pretty chill about it the whole time, and it seemed like it wasn't a situation where he was ever going to back out, or because this show, like, people who are like, you know, breaking news, Ewan McGregor is going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again. It's like if they're making the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, he's the only person playing. So I mean, I don't know why, like they're not bringing in, you know, Eric Stoltz to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
And then we're going to replace him again.
They're going to replace him, yeah. Bringing back Michael J. Fox to play Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is the reason you're seeing the Rosario Dawsons come into like these Marvel shows and Star Wars shows, and you're seeing the talent that are coming on to these shows.
Well, Kumail is Thrawn.
Kumail, yeah, well, Thrawn, or you know, whatever. But my point is like you're starting to see more and more, and you have been taking into account the fact that like it's one thing back in the day when people would look back on television movie stars and go, I don't want to do why would I want to get stuck doing television and I have to do these network shows and be on them for God knows how many seasons for 28 episodes a year. Like that's my whole year. My schedule's not open to do other things. And when they can come and they can bang out 8 or 10 episodes for a Disney Plus show for a season, maybe 2, maybe 3, and it's 10 episodes, 8 episodes, whatever, like that's less of a commitment, and they're showing that they're quality. So I know I'm not saying
absolutely
1,000 times before, but I think that I'm excited for Obi-Wan. I'm excited for all these things. I think that you know, it's not like the old days of if they were to do a TV show anymore and Eric Stoltz would play Obi-Wan Kenobi.
right. No, I agree. I mean, there were certainly a couple of the fight scenes. I'll say this: I think Mandalorian has been better than the Marvel series in terms of effects and that sort of thing. I think I think the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were fighting on top of a train or trucks. I think they were fighting on top of trucks, and it felt like I was watching an old episode of MacGyver or something. Like it felt TV to me.
I'm actually, I didn't expect to like Winter Soldier, but I texted the boys. I said it's like they took a Hawaii Five-0 show on CBS, and instead we got Marvel characters on a Marvel budget.
Hey, that works.
Yes.
Please don't attack the internet.
Steve, in terms of well, Lacey, I'll throw this to you. The old stuff. Speaking of Plus, they've popped all this old stuff on there, including the original Clone Wars stuff. I'm going to focus that on Steve, of course. But like the cartoon from the holiday special, The Faithful Wookie, did you go back and watch any of this old stuff that has popped up on there yet?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched it yet. I have plans to, but okay. I've actually been watching Winter Soldier instead.
Hey, well, you know what?
I've been really loving the Marvel stuff from WandaVision to now Winter Soldier. I can't wait to see what they do with Loki. I'm so excited for that show. So yeah, I just, you know, you have so many hours in the day. It's like breaking it up between podcasting and this. You pick and choose, and I'm choosing the more high budget stuff.
I'm
and
with
Criminal
you.
Minds. Been watching Criminal Minds.
I haven't delved in yet because most of the time my TV is on whatever my son wants to watch, whether it's a Word Party or, you know, whatever.
Toy Story
but
again.
Sometimes we do he's big into Moana's his latest Pixar favorite right now.
Aw, that's good. Moana's great.
The You're Welcome song. Yeah, I the only thing I did watch was the Faithful Wookie, which I guess is the animated Boba Fett cartoon that they pulled out of the holiday special, and I mean, it's not good, but it's history, I guess. I doubt I'm gonna watch the original Clone Wars stuff. The Ewoks animated series I may watch to see if it's similar to like triggers the He-Man fan in me as a kid based on that animation style, or Gummy Bears or whatever. But the other thing that I'm afraid to watch, which I'm gonna let Steve chime in on this because you guys had a bit where you wanted to do some sort of commentary on these movies, the Ewok movies. I guess they're going to be on there. I haven't watched those since I was like 5, man. So
are you talking about Caravan of Courage? I watched it recently. It was bad.
Okay, so
the only good person in it is Warwick Davis. Everything else is really weird. They have this like B team Luke Skywalker character, like
we got the principal
parents,
from Breakfast Club.
Yeah, the parents have like weird, like over the top 80s hair. Like they didn't go space, they went 80s. And you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. So Steve, have you watched these at all? Was
I have
just
not.
A bit for you boys or what?
Well, we were rightfully turned down for Star Wars Celebration. Chicago. We were right because we it wasn't just the podcast stuff. We submitted a ton of crazy creative for other stuff we were asked to, and we were rightfully turned down, but we had pitched doing in line for, I think I don't know, it was whatever one of the lines where people would have to like stand up overnight kind of a thing. We had pitched doing a 24-hour basically live stream where we had a little tiny set in the middle of the line.
Oh, in the queue hall?
The queue hall that looked like little mini Ewok village kind of thing with like a little mini fake fire and whatnot. And we would do on the big screen in the queue hall, they would play the Ewok movies, and we would have guests come and sit in and do like interruptions and things, and they would play it over the loudspeakers. They rightfully just turned that down.
They turned you down for Elliot to DJ in the middle of the night, which he got a lot of hate for, which he was like, why'd you have me come at 2 a.m. to DJ?
Listen, we were going to do it for free and build the set and do everything. But, you know, I get it. We're not everybody's cup of tea. It's been a long time since I've seen them. God, do I have love for Wilford Brimley and the old days of Life Goes On and that show, and
there you go,
and Corky and all of them. But no, I've not watched them yet. My wife went to go. I had to come do a pod, and my wife went to go push play to put it on for our kid, and I went, "Don't you put that on while I'm leaving?" I said, "You don't get the." I said, "I was like, don't put." I was like, "You put Coco on."
Don't rob me of that experience.
Put super simple songs on again. Like, no.
There you go. There you go.
Put on Katie's Classroom. What are you doing?
I know all these.
What are you doing? So I haven't had a chance to check them out, but I did like go and look at the menu, and I really enjoyed the menu and the layout and the design with the vintage.
It does look cool. Yeah.
The vintage thing. And, you know, it brings me way back because we had Paul Dini on, who was, I don't know if he's a show or not, but he was one of the main writers and guys on Droids and Ewoks.
Right.
And we had Paul Dini on very early on our show. If you haven't checked that interview out, where he talks all about that experience.
Oh, nice. All right.
And you know, I dig it. I'm stoked that they did it. Like, I think it's great that for me, it's always been a thing of like, embrace the weird parts of Star Wars.
Sure.
Right. Like, and you have it. Like, there's no cost there.
Right. And I feel like for so long, it just felt like, I don't know if it was George's thing or what. It just felt like kind of, I don't want to acknowledge that.
Right.
It's like, come on.
There's a few things he doesn't like acknowledging. One of them is Yaddle. Another one is Mara Jade. And another one is the holiday special. But all right, real quick here, video games. I don't know, Lacey, I know you're a video game player. You have Battlefront. You played that online and the story mode. Were you eyeing the Lego Skywalker Saga game? Are you into the Lego Star Wars games?
I have played them before, but I don't own any. I think I rented one once, and they were fun. Okay. I mean, they're for little kids to play, which is fine.
Yeah. Or me, because I can actually play it. Yeah.
This one seemed interesting to me because they said it was like over 300 playable characters. So I was kind of excited to see like what stories you could get into. So I understand it got delayed, which, you know what happens. We're in a crazy time, so delays happen.
Yeah. And then Star Wars Republic Commando now available on Switch. Steve, are you still into Star Wars gaming, or you play Star Wars video games?
I'm not a video game guy. That's the thing they always made fun of me on the show.
Okay.
I don't have a
not a big
Switch,
guy.
so.
Like I bought a PS4.
Alex and Cisco?
Alex and Cisco are big time. I have a Switch. I saw this in the news. I was like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. But honestly, it would be a waste of money because I'd play it for 5 minutes and put it down. Unless it's like Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Sega Genesis and early like Star Wars Nintendo. Like, whoop, too many buttons.
Mario Kart.
Fair.
Yeah.
Mario
I'm with
Kart.
you on
Exactly.
that. I'm with you on that, buddy. All right. Lacey, now I'm going to send it to you so that we can do the Patreon pod race.
All right, guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race. This is the part of the show where we let our generals be a part of the show. I said that weird, but it happened. There's lots of ways you can support us. You can like, comment, subscribe here on YouTube. You can follow us on all the different platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, which we really like. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. So as I said, this is their chance, the generals, to be a part of the show. Wait, I'm skipping a whole big part here. If you want more than that, you can follow us on patreon.com/resistance broadcast starting at $2 a month, which is the whole point of this segment. But there I am. All right. So you go up in tiers, you get more access. And if you're at the top, you get to be a part of the show. This is how many times am I going to say part of the show? All right. So thank you to our generals. We have Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neel Shah, David Probus, John Risi, Micah Harrison, Jetta Rosewater, Michael Gaines, Fett Bethany, Kendall, Gelner, Paul Olsen, Jake Houchins, Jeff Connary, Oliver Lewis, Dave Hornack, Frank Grande, Ryan Wara, and Val Trichkov. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. It means so much.
Thank you.
And being a part of the show. So this week we have a rotation slot. It is our general, Jeff Connary, with his debut. Welcome, Jeff. We're excited to have you. And his question was, if you could take any scene in Star Wars and make it into a ride, which one would you pick and why? Take it away, Jeff.
Hey, fellow Star Wars fans. Jeff here. This was kind of a tough question for me because I'm not really much of a theme park guy. But I watched Solo the other day, and I was thinking, hey, why not make a roller coaster out of the train hijacking scene? You could even have doubled cars where some people sat on top and some people hung down from underneath. Well, that's what I came up with. Take care, guys, and let's make Solo 2 happen.
Well done, Jeff. Awesome job. Love your shirt. John, what did you think? I actually love this answer because I believe I gave this answer a couple episodes ago. So Jeff and I are on the same page.
You may have incepted Jeff. That's possible that happened. But I love that he's wearing the Make Solo 2 Happen shirt. I love that he supports that. I think that'd be a heck of a fun ride. A rotating
the top bottom
sort
thing.
of,
that's all Jeff.
Yeah.
That was a great idea.
I like that answer. My pick would have been from Solo too. I think it would have been a Kessel Run. I know they have the Millennium Falcon ride, but less of a simulator, more of a roller coaster, Kessel Run type of ride. I thought would be cool, but I like his pick too. That scene is primed to be a theme park ride if they wanted to do it. But
Steve, do you have a ride you'd pitch?
Guys, come on. Speeder bikes, Endor. What are you talking about?
That would be really cool.
What
now, are you saying are you saying like simulator like the Star Tours, or are you actually on a track going through things?
I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of both. I think it's I don't know if you guys remember like E.T. the ride back at Universal back in the day where you get on the BMX bike, right? But if you take that with the big sort of screen technology that they do, like not like any different than what they do, because they kind of took it from theme parks to begin with for Mandalorian in the way that they shoot that stuff
Avatar is
an Avatar, exactly. And I think that if you could do it where you have like, you know, speeder bikes speeding through with the screens and stuff, I think there's a way to make it really cool and have wind and smell and all of that, kind of like they do soaring over California or soaring over the world, I think at Disney World or whatever, like, and have scents and things like that, like the pine tree smell and, you know, Wookiee fart, or, you know, there's some Ewok dung being flinged at you. I don't know. But, you know, and also give you the feel of like a warm heat blaster blasting through by your face. I think
isn't that a fart?
Cool. Maybe. I don't
Oh
know.
my God.
Is that what yours is like?
We
Are
have
you
two
shitting?
episodes. We have 2 episodes in a row now where we're talking about farts on this podcast.
Hey guys, it's the BSR way. What are you gonna do?
You brought back the
I
return of
got
the
a book.
fart.
I got 2 books in my bathroom. Everybody poops, everybody farts. You know.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your answer. Thanks for
Thanks,
supporting
Jeff.
Make Slow to Happen. I love your ride idea. So if Disney's listening, do
Yeah.
it. Now we're gonna head to John.
Yeah.
to see what's
So
next.
yeah, so we have about 10 or so minutes left. So Steve, I'm just curious for our fans who thought you disappeared. Out of
Went
the
into exile, into hiding
you-
like on Obi-Wan.
let them
You've
know what's going on.
only 10 minutes. 10
Uh,
minutes? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We no, yeah, so you guys are still doing the show, but you're talking about everything else you like, pop culture,
So,
merch,
show-
shoes, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So like we did not go into exile. We, like I explained earlier, we took a break. Like, here's the weird thing. We had been hinting at leading up to before the pandemic and everything. We had been leading up and hinting at and teasing sort of a rebrand of Black Series Rebels into sort of just BSR, right? We're still Black Series Rebels, but we were rebranding into BSR, and it was going to be, and it is now called A Show About the Shit We Love. And basically all of us come from so many different backgrounds, and we're into so many different things, from sneaker culture and streetwear, and which is also part of our DNA with our brand and our merchandise, right? It, like, we stole basically models and release models from the hype model from like the Hundreds and Undefeated and all these other streetwear companies and stuff, and we wanted to share that with so many other people. And I know that that's not for everybody, and that's cool, but we wanted to talk about other stuff. We talk about movies. We have a midnight movie club show that we do that's very similar to your other pod, John. Or like basically where we'll have a guest on and we'll watch a classic movie and we'll talk about it. And Alex will talk about his opinion of it from more of like a storytelling point of view. I will usually talk about it in sort of a filmmaking behind the scenes sort of history side of it all. And
Nice.
Cisco kind of straddles both, but also comes from just a fan perspective. And so we do the midnight movie clubs, and we've branched out our pins from not just being inspired by a galaxy far, far away, but now inspired by so many other different things and other IPs and stuff. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming. I think we're going to be doing a drop here in April finally. But we were set to do a whole rebrand of all this stuff, and we had we went off to do some creative stuff after we did our last episode of the Star Wars show, and literally we produced some commercials and stuff for the video game PUBG. And
my husband
Right, yeah.
always is playing that game. He's playing it right
really,
now.
I don't
all
know
the time.
how. I don't know how. I just made commercials for it. I tried for 2 seconds, and I
All the
watched
time,
guys who
nonstop.
play video games for a living basically drop into this world and be blasted by some kid in North Korea.
He's always playing Koreans,
Yeah.
people from Croatia,
Yes.
Russia.
Yeah. Right. So, but
He's like, we beat the Ukraine tonight, and I'm like, all right, I
don't know what it means. But we because of our podcast and whatnot and where we do it, we got opportunities to do some other stuff that also flexes what we do in our real life. And that was sort of the reason we started doing our podcast and our show to begin with, was to use our day job skills on things that we're into. So we were ready to rebrand. We had paid for graphics, all this stuff. We had saved up money. We were about to build a new set. And as soon as we wrapped on the commercial, we were set to go tear down the set and build a new one. And pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And so then it was a scramble of what do we do? And so we basically went, well, I immediately went online and did a bunch of research and talked with our good friend Ken Knapsack and a bunch of other people and got us on like StreamYard, and I got us mics, and I got them all sent off to everyone. And we decided to basically do the show very similar like this. But because Alex and I are such like live in-person entertaining,
different
like
chemistry,
it's our thing. It's our thing. And so it just, we were lost, and we did a quarantine sessions thing that just, these episodes, some people like them, but they went on forever and ever. Anyways, we now are audio only. We lost the video component, and we really got back on staying on task. And we drop 2 shows a week now that are about 45 minutes to an hour long. We've been on our little spring break for the last month. We're coming back. We'll start recording next week. but it's fun, man. We still talk about Star Wars. We just did right before spring break. We had legendary hip hop artist Murs hit us up out of nowhere and was like, I want to come talk Star Wars on your show. And we were like,
oh, about Last Jedi, right?
Well, not just about that, but just about everything. And we were just
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean, he's legendary, like hip hop artist, especially in California. And we were like, first of all, how do you know us? Second of all, why on earth do you want to come on our show?
That's
And
awesome,
third
man.
of all, like, shit, we don't talk about Star Wars anymore, but Murs calls us up. We're going to talk about Star Wars. And we had a fantastic interview. And listen, he's got some points of view that maybe I don't agree with or others don't, but like, he's a fan. And like he loves Star Wars. And it was fun to get to talk Star Wars again with him. And that's the thing is we've had, you know, Jordan Peele's producing partner, Win Rosenfield, on. He wanted to do a Minute Movie Club about Gremlins. So we were like, okay, let's do that. We've had comedian Matt Viola. We've had all of these people that just sort of talking about other stuff and having a really good time and hopefully introducing our original fan base to some of this stuff and also introducing new fans to the Star Wars stuff. And we were having a lot of fun. And, you know, come check us out.
Yeah, you guys have always been a good time, and it's funny, we were always like sister shows,
right?
Because we came out around the same time. At least, well, when we rebranded the Resistance podcast, you guys started your new show, and you had like 4 episodes in. Alex came on, and we sort of had this sort of brethren sort of thing, and then you guys rebranded off, and it broke our hearts. But no, it's all jokes aside, it's good to see you guys are still doing your show and talking about other things. Because in my experience, doing my other podcast, it's like a palate cleanser for me. Because then when I come back to talk Star Wars, it feels fresh still and that sort of thing. But yeah, for anyone who likes what we do here and likes having a good time and likes other nerd-based stuff and pop culture-based stuff, definitely go subscribe to Alex, Steve, and Cisco. Black
if you ever
Series
talk
Rebels,
about Mrs.
BSR.
Doubtfire,
it's coming.
I love
it's coming.
Mrs.
In
Doubtfire.
fact, I'm
coming.
I just added Sister Act to the list. Don't know when we're gonna do it. We're gonna do Sister Act.
I love Mrs. Doubtfire.
It was a run by
fruiting.
fruiting. Oh, that movie.
I asked you to reserve a spot for me for something. I forget what it was.
You'll be there. Yeah. I think I
what
have
it
it written
was.
down. I'll go look in the thing. But Mrs. Doubtfire, I watched that movie all the time. And that was a movie that like I had on VHS that I watched all the time. And now as I watch it as an adult, I'm like, that movie's really sad. I can't believe I like.
Yes, I cried at the end the other
Yes.
day when I watched it. I'm like sobbing in my living room, like ugly crying.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Robin Williams is my favorite actor of all time.
It's full of so many funny parts and like this, like subtle funny parts, like when he does the impression of a hot dog and he just goes,
"Oh."
So I didn't realize.
That's so funny.
I've been with my husband for about a decade, and forever, as long as I've known him, I never put it together. He always says hot jambalaya like all the time, and I never put it together. And the other day we were watching it, and he says it in the kitchen after he dumps the pepper in the jambalaya, and I just looked at him and was like, "What?" Just never knew. Hot jambalaya.
Deep cuts. So yeah, Steve, what? How did you feel talking Star Wars again? Did it feel good?
Yeah, no. Listen. It's nice. I love talking Star Wars. You know, I just don't like being. You know, listen. It's nice to dip my toe back into it, but you know, I'm not for everybody. It's okay,
dude. I'll be honest with you. It hasn't gotten any better in terms of how fans act. It's like. You know, like in Star Wars,
have fun. You just gotta focus on what you love and have fun with it.
It's BBY and ABY. I feel like with Star Wars, it's before Last Jedi, after Last Jedi, and that's whether you like the movie or not. That movie just decided it's time for everybody to be nasty about stuff.
Fandom to end.
We could go on forever, but if I leave here not recommending this, I'm going to be really upset. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the chef David Chang, but go check out the David Chang Show wherever you get wherever you get podcasts. It's part of the Ringer Network. Check out his pod. Kelly Marie Tran recently was out promoting Raya.
Was she on his show?
Go check out the interview there with him, because in my opinion, it's the most just real conversation about everything, and not just what happened with Last Jedi, but just as a whole, And I think that if you're a fan of Star Wars in general and you're a fan of fandoms and whatnot, I think it's a very human, it's a very beautiful human explanation of her side of things and what was going on there that I think, is worth checking out. So check out the David Chang show interview with Kelly, because to touch on the Last Jedi thing real quick, and you can cut this if you want, but she basically talks about how much she loves Ryan and how, Ryan, when we got together with all the actors and everybody, said, listen, we're not going to do what everybody is expecting us to do. We're not going to do what everybody wants us to do. Like, why would we? Who wants that? Like, we're gonna make something here. We're gonna subvert expectations. I don't think it was ever anyone's I don't think it was anyone's goal to have happen what happened. But I also
to make people upset, right?
It makes people upset, and I also think that it's not just Star Wars. It's not.
Oh no!
It's not. It's everything. It's sports. It's politics. It's religion.
We just talked about it.
It's Ghostbusters. It's just our just our culture right now. And hopefully, at some point we'll be able to have a little kumbaya moment again. Maybe not. I don't know. I hope so.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like what you like. If someone's not into it, that's fine. And if you're not into what they're into, that's fine. But like, you don't have to hate on them. You don't have to necessarily make fun of them. But also, let's all have a fucking sense of humor. And like, let's have a laugh together. And God damn it, let's get to the movies again and get your vaccines. And like, let's all start living again. And, at the end of the day, this stuff is just supposed to entertain us, not divide us, not make us angry. And like, if you don't like it, don't watch it again.
Right. Yeah. Leave it behind you. Yeah. Why?
Also watch Mrs. Doubtfire.
Also, maybe don't write that tweet, or write it and delete it and don't publish it, because like, what's the point?
I always say, I tweeted this thing out. It was like a checkbox thing. I'm like, there should be a filter on Twitter before you hit a final send button that says, do I really have an opinion on this, or am I bored? Because a lot of times I feel like, and I do it too sometimes, I'm like, wait, I don't have an opinion on this. Why am I about to tweet about this?
The greatest thing that has happened to me and Alex and Alex especially, Cisco, he's a madman. He's on his own. He's not as sensitive as we are, but
Cisco is a madman. I will say, yes.
But the greatest thing in the last year that Alex and I have done, and I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, and especially with our account, we don't have an opinion anymore on social media.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It's just our show promotion, and that's it. And today, because it was Rex Manning Day, the day we're recording this, is the one day a year that I changed my profile over. And today was the first time I was like retweeting and tweeting that had nothing to do with BSR or anything. And tomorrow I'll go back and I'll like some stuff. And, if I have an opinion on something, I'll text a friend or I'll DM one of you guys and we'll have a little fun back and forth about it. But like, I don't need strangers' affirmations to make me feel good or bad about myself regarding my dumb joke.
I couldn't agree more. We use our podcast account just for our podcast stuff. It doesn't have a personality because there's 3 different people behind the podcast. So when people like try to tag us when there's like social issues in the world, like, hey, Resistance Broadcast Star Wars podcast, how come you're not talking about this? And we're like, this is our podcast account. If you want our opinions, our names are right in the profile. Go find what John thinks, go find what Lacey thinks, go find what James thinks. That's where you get our opinions. This is our shows, our podcast. You don't come to us for worldly views, you come to us for some Star Wars stuff. That's not what it's about. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. And lastly, where we're going to get into our plugs in a second, but I want everyone to know where they can find you guys. Where's BSR? Now, you said it's all audio only, but what about, you got any pins you want to promote? What else you got?
I don't have any specific stuff, pins right now to promote, but you can find, like, if you want the most up-to-date stuff with us, we are way more active over on our Instagram at Black Series Rebels. That's BLK Series, SERIES Rebels. That's the same handle for us over on Twitter, but Instagram is where we probably have more fun. It's where you'll be more up to date with what our pin stuff is, any kind of projects we're working on. And you can find me on Twitter at Rex Manning. But actually I'm more over on this other app called Letterboxd, which if you're a big movie fan, that's where I'm way more active, and sort of whatever I watch, I'm rating. Sometimes I'll give my opinion, I'll make lists, things like that. So find me over there, Stephen Ellis on Letterboxd, and just look us up, blackseriesrebels.com.
All right, right on. And we want to thank everybody for listening and watching and being a part of the Resistance. We hope you enjoyed this episode. James, we miss you, buddy, but we will see you next week. He'll be back. He was just on vacation, little breather, well deserved. He'll be back next week. Make sure you do subscribe to our show, also on all audio podcast platforms, the way Lacey brought it up before. Also, of course, here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Star Wars Newsnet videos. Make sure you do subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that. StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews. We do editorials, a lot of information, some interviews, and more. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. Lacey?
People can find me during the Hasbro Fan Fest if you missed it on Friday. I was in it.
Yeah.
So people
That
can
was
find me there.
sick. Yeah.
Yes. Reacting to the latest Star Wars news with the whole team over there, which was really, really awesome. Thank you, Hasbro, for asking me to do it. It was really fun. And you could just find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran, geeking out about everything that's going on in Star Wars and more.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, Steve, dude, thank you so much for coming on. We had an absolute blast. It was like fate, how you were just like, hey, have me on to talk about the news. I'm like, just so you know, James is out. We can use the third. And you're like, all right, Rex Manning. So dude, thank you so much, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast seeing you guys. It feels like I haven't seen you guys forever. So thank you.
You too, brother. All right, everybody, we'll be back on Thursday where we're going to be joined by Adam Witt, who is a writer, editor, comedian, and my teammate on the Schmodown. He is a huge Star Wars fan, and you're probably going to leave that podcast like Star Wars even more if that's possible. So join us there on Thursday. But until next time, enjoy your week, and we'll see you right here on the Resistance broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.